Hey everybody, this is Talking of Carl back again for another movie review. And we're gonna be doing three movies in once. So we're gonna try to get through this rather quickly. Hopefully get all those reviews out in a time of hour and a half or less, hopefully. But before we continue, please like and subscribe, share this with your friends. Uh Leave a comment below if you have seen any of these movies. So, and keeping up with the theme of International Women's Month, I'm gonna be doing the most iconic female in video game history, and probably one of my favorite video game characters, probably second only to Dante from Devil May Cry, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. Now, at first, I was just gonna do like the 2018 version because I never actually went to see that. Uh, but I figured like might as well cover like the other two as well because it has been like a hot while since I haven't seen like I know I gotta seen at least I know I seen it as a young kid, but there's like a gap in time before I seen these two movies since then, and probably been in my 20s some point. But having it's definitely been a while since I seen the original 2001 Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider, and then the sequel Cradle of Life. So I'll be covering all three in a row. And yeah, I mean, I know the first one was very successful. The sequel, not many people cared for that. It wasn't the most god awful thing, but it didn't rise to the same standards. But I'll get to when I get to that part. But yeah, man, the only Tomb Raider games I've actually owned was the rebooted franchise. Well, except for the first one that the 2018 movie was based off on, but I played its sequels, which I like to believe I streamed them on my channel. No, 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 I don't think I streamed them on my channel. Uh, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. It was really fun. Uh, uh, but as a kid, I only play like demos or somebody else's game of a Tomb Raider that they owned. And of course, I fell in love with the character for obvious reasons. But she was like, one of the most badass female characters of, video game history. In a sense, you could think of like Lara Croft kind of like the Wonder Woman of video game female protagonist. Not like she was like the first one. Of course, some people might argue Sheamus Aaron, but she's like an epitome of video game icons. And obviously, just like Nathan Drake, based off of Indiana Jones with like archaeology, adventure kind of thing. And I love those type of stories, especially movies, where it's like treasure, hunting type of films. It's so much fun. Just like I love detective noir stuff. It's really fun and engaging almost all the time for me. So this movie was directed by Simon West. Angelina Jolie, who was like the hot commodity at the time. She's a very rising star. Of course, she has like, back then she was into some kind of like weird stuff, like she was dating like Billy Bob Thornton at the time, carrying like a locket of his, a bit of his blood in it. She's, chilled out over time, and then she got like, a bunch of adopted kids with Brad Pitt, who eventually she kind of fallen out with, that kind of thing. Oh no, she kind of mulled out, but she was like into some kind of wild stuff. Like you told me it was like some wild 20s, and I'm pretty sure she lived out some very wild 20s and early 30s. But you tell me like great casting. She definitely looked the part in terms uh of Lara Croft. And because of Lara Croft, I always had like a thing for girls with like those long Tomb Raider long braid thing. I don't know. It's just like, as any young boy who played video games about like Lara Croft, they always had some kind of thing for her. She got those blocky breasts. It was a big deal at the time. Okay, so it's like, get off my back. Uh, of course, Angelina Jolie, hot woman, especially at that time. Very one to one for especially with the lips. I don't know. It's just like Angelina Jolie got those iconic lips. It's kind of very, like most women would like spend thousands of dollars at, plastic surgery just to get lips like that. She just got naturally full lips. Uh, I'm really curious about her ancestry, because he can't just be just like a plain old white woman. She got to have some kind of some kind of ethnic background of some kind. I kind of wish she does some kind of ancestry thing, just so we know. Because she got some unique features that kind of comes from some kind of different country of origin. Anyway, very right for the part. Great casting. We got Ian Glenn. I'm pretty sure it was on Game of Thrones. Plays Manfred Powell. John Voight as Richard Croft, Laura's father. A very young Daniel Craig, who plays a rival treasure hunter named Alex West. Which I gotta point out here, because Angelina Jolie is American and Daniel Craig is British, and they both doing like, weird accents of each other's countries of origin. And it's not the first time we see Daniel Craig do this, nor will it be the last time, as we see from the Knives Out films, that country Holcomb, like the Foghorn Leghorn. I said, son. That little countrified speak. Noah Tyler as Bryce, Laura's tech expert, who, I forgot how sickly this guy looks in this film. It's like he does not get any sun and looks kind of malnourished. And we got Chris Berry as Laura's butler, Hillary. And it just always throws me off when somebody got the gall, or just I don't know what's going on with any parent's mind, to decide to name their son a female's name. It's so weird. Anyway, I gotta say, the way this we're introduced with Laura is unlike most films around this time. Especially when dealing with superhero films, or just movies based off of video games, which back then, it's very rare. They hardly did well at all. Mostly because the studio probably doesn't have faith in it, or the directors involved or the writers involved might not have any faith in it. But when you get some people behind the scenes who actually got reverence for the character, they do a good job, and they don't do some kind of crazy origin story. I mean, the 2018 reboot was a must of an origin story, because it was based off of the first movie in the rebooted franchise. But we're just landing in. They expect you to know Lara Croft. We don't need to go through too much of like her backstory. Right, she got her manner. Because if you played video games, I remember playing the video games where she's training in her house, doing this crazy stuff, and got like a pool and doing laps, all this other stuff. I remember way back in the day, she has like a old butler that's, I could be wrong, but there was like this old butler that's just kind of like, shuffling along, carrying like a platter full of stuff. But they obviously updated to be like a relatively young man. But it's like you're smack dabbing in. She got all her stuff. She's highly skilled. She pretty much like Batman mixed with Indiana Jones. She got her stuff, and she, some people might not feel like too. I don't know. Some people feel like, okay, Lara Croft goes to a country and then knows a person from probably like a previous adventure that's like, can you hook me up with a boat in Cambodia or something like that? I gotta go on the river to get this. Oh, I got you, Laura. Hey, Laura, nice to meet. Great to see you again, Laura. At it again. It's at it again. Hey, it's like, well, we don't always need that kind of stuff. It's just the same way with like Indiana Jones. He just been at this game such a long time, went around most of the planet. So of course, like, you might have known a couple of people that might do him a solid from like a previous adventure that they helped them on or something. But yeah, Laura's just got all her tools. She got all her skills. She can just get right onto an adventure, which is kind of dope. So we see her doing a little training session in her house where she's trying to get this little object, and of course it's set like an actual tomb raider. Gotta have like a tomb, obviously, because that would just feel so naked, if Lara Croft goes on these adventures and not raid a tomb. But then she gets attacked by this test robot designed by a tech guy, and it's like, even as a kid, I'm like, how many tombs do you know actually has like mechanical robots in it? But it's a test program. She gotta make sure she keeps her skills pretty tight. And she, Angelina Jolie worked out like freaking crazy for these two films that she was in, like, crazy acrobatic and very active and mobile. And I gotta say, it's right on brand with Tomb Raider. It's like she deals, she and Indiana Jones in their adventures deal with some weird ass shit, and some might conflate that as like something mystical, and more often than not is some scientific reasoning behind it. It's very mixed. Sometimes you do get some kind of mystical element to her stories, but in other times it can just be like a scientific explanation that in the past was conflated to be something mystical, because people in ancient times wouldn't have known any better. But she's still going through, some personal hurt, because her father has always long been missing, presumed dead, and she never knew what happened, and is the anniversary of his death, or supposedly missing stuff. And we meet the villain, who's working for, or at least part of, the Illuminati. Very easy bad guys to use. The same way with like, Nazis, like for Indiana Jones. Very easy to hate bad guys. Or like stormtroopers. Very easy to hate bad guys. Manfred is supposed to, there's this kind of planetary alignment that they need to meet the data of by acquiring this triangle, like two halves of this sacred triangle, in order to, it has the ability to allow the will to control time, essentially. And so Manfred is tasked with trying to complete all this in time with the alignment. Then Laura wakes up, to the sound of some ticking, which leads to a lot of people's one of their cons from this film is the fact that all she hears is very quiet ticking that's hidden away under the staircase, that's sealed away, that you have to break through. It's not like it's some kind of secret compartment. I would have at least appreciated a secret compartment thing she never knew about that she figures out because she's good with puzzles. But she smashes through the thing because she actually hears this very quiet ticking way up from her little master bedroom. Highly implausible. She finds this old clock, and then she has Bryce inspect it, and they end up figuring out there's this little clock piece. At least it's not just a clock. There's like a almost like a compass type of thing, which turns to be like a key. Now she goes to meet up with this professor who might know a little bit of something. She bumps into West, who obviously they had like a history together, but he cares more about the money involved rather than like preserving any kind of historical artifact. But the professor she's talking to claims he doesn't know anything about this artifact, but clearly he was lying, and don't know why he never got any, what his association with Manfred is. But she just tells him like, if somebody you need to see, go see Manfred. She goes see him. He claims he doesn't know anything about it, but he clearly was flirting with her. He's a very posh kind of guy, but ruthless, put air quotes for a reason. But he's kind of like a quiet. It's one of those villains I kind of appreciate it, where you don't need to be like very boisterous of their villainy. But I don't know. It's kind of like half of what you see from Kingpin, where it's like sometimes he's more scary when he just like very quiet, nonchalant about it. But which makes his outbursts all the more scary when he just lets it out. I like these quiet dignity type of villains where there's like, I don't need to, be all big and boisterous. That doesn't usually strike fear. Sound and fury signifying nothing sometimes. And so like, yeah, I appreciate this type of villain. It's very cool. But he says a kind of weird line, which Bryce even calls out. It's like, what he says, like, my ignorance amuses me. And even as a kid, it's like, what kind of line is that? Who says that? Who wrote that down for him to say? And then Bryce in the next cut scene is like, my ignorance amuses me. It's like, are you joking? It's like, yeah. It's like, that's what I'm saying. I was like, 'cause that sounds like so dumb. Nobody would say that. His a weird attempt at flirting. But then later on that night, mercenaries clearly was breaking into Laura's house as she's trying to train. And of course, I asked, okay, yeah, you're a badass, but you're not Batman either. And why do you not, with your rich ass, have high level security to deal with any type of threat that might come that pose to you at your home domicile? It's so weird. it's kind of like, you know, certain people living in LA that don't lock their freaking doors for some doggone reason. It's so weird. Uh, because they break in, Laura fights a lot of moths, a lot of moth. There's a few editing shots is kind of weird because it's very quick cuts kind of thing. Especially there's one moment where Laura's on a motorcycle shooting at like in the garage, shooting at some gunmen while riding on like a motorcycle in the air, and it's like those quick cuts. It's cool, but you know, there's like at least 5 cuts in her with her in the air, and it's like this kind of reminds me of like the Liam Neeson in the Taken sequels, where it's like, yeah, we know he's older, so he can't hop over a fence in one take. So you gotta do at least 5 to 10 takes for him getting over one fence, and it's so weird and obvious. And it's like, don't know why you need to do this. You could just do like a one long take of her slow motion in the air shooting at a gun. I would find that more serviceable than those rapid 5 cuts. Anyway, these mystery men make off with this clock piece, and so Laura figures out, okay, she needs to go to, she ended up going to some kind of jungle. Where'd she go to? Oh, there's another coincidence, you know, a very big coinky dink, where the next morning there's a UPS letter delivered to Laura, is pre-arranged by her father, and this leads to another plot hole. It's like, okay, how would you know when to exact time when to send this to your daughter at this exact moment? Now, my best guess got something to do with the whole time gizmo, maybe, I'm not sure, but it's very kind of glaring issue for me. But it was explained about the purpose of this clock, which leads her to go to this explain about the triangle light in the 2 halves and how it's important to destroy those two to keep it out of the hands of people with ill intent. So so because it was, you know, misused in ancient times, it was broken in half for a reason, and you know, each piece was taken from different parts of the world. So the first half, it was in like a tomb in, yeah, it was Cambodia, Angkor, Cambodia. So that's where like the villains are at. Manfred hires West to be his own personal Tomb Raider to solve certain puzzles, but for some reason, because they trying to break into this tomb, they have like a team of men trying to pull down this column of rock, and it's like, you're rich enough and have the resources enough to get some machinery to knock down these ancient, you know, rock formations and walls in order to get inside. Why are you actually relying on physical, literal manpower? That's weird. While you're sitting there on your little Prince Alibaba type of throw pillows for some reason. Very posh. Laura shows up and finds like a different way in. And of course, in a couple of times in this movie, she bumps into these weird, you know, disappearing girls. They don't say nothing, just point. Well, one doesn't say nothing, just points where she needs to go. And it's like never explains who are these mysterious girls. One is in Cambodia, one is in Russia, And so like where the other piece will ultimately be, but it's like, okay, who are these girls? And like, what's the purpose of these girls? Are they linked to these triangles for some reason? Are they part of some villagers uh that's waiting on somebody with a right heart that will trust to deal with this kind of situation? Who knows? Never fully explained that. So she goes in at the same time as like Manfred and his team come in, and of course Wes only solves one half of the puzzle while Laura realizes the other half. So she announces herself and it states that since we're running out of time and the lion won't show up in another 500 years or 5,000 years, one or two. And so it's like, you run out of time. You want to know where the other, you want to get this piece and know where the other one is. Gotta trust me, because obviously Laura wants it to destroy it, but it just leave it be. But I guess, you don't know who will be around 5,000 years later who might try this crap again, and you can't just count on your future ancestors to deal with that for you. Might as well handle it here and now while you got the time and the skills to do it. So trusting her, because it's mutual beneficial, they toss her the clock piece. She implements it. She puts it on the wall where the true key slot is, and it unearths from like a T1000 liquid body or something. And you see one half of the piece where Laura swings on this giant like pillar, or not pillar, but it's kind of like a pendulum thing, collects it, but then the statues in the ruin starts coming alive, and everybody starts like taking them down. But then this one giant one comes to life and is stripped like like something like I would definitely see in a Tomb Raider game. Some weird thing coming to life in a tomb that you got to take down using mechanisms or something in the ruins. So yeah, it's pretty on brand for Tomb Raider. Yeah, like I never had no problem with it as a kid. I like, yeah, this tracks. This is Tomb Raider, and the people behind this, you can tell they played the Tomb Raider game or two in their times, so they are implementing something that they definitely would have been in a game. So like, yeah, pretty on brand. No notes. And I appreciate practical effects in all three Tomb Raider movies I've doing reviews for. All three doing like pretty good practical effects. So like I appreciated that. Very rare they utilize CG. Unlike after the mid 2000s into today, where certain directors abuse the CGI stuff to death, where not knowing when to use it and how to use it, instead of just overusing it to overcompensate because it's just easier. And sometimes it just doesn't work out that well. So she takes out that thing, runs out, and escapes the gunfire. But the bad guy's got the clock piece now, but she has the other half of the triangle. She escapes via waterfall, ends up in like a monk monastery, contacts her friends about what happened, but contacts the bad guy, where they know, like, okay, we need to meet up and agree to like a temporary truce, because I have the triangle, but you have the clock key, and neither one of us will be able to get what we want. So we need to work together. So it's kind of like a stalemate. So Laura and Bryce show up at the private airport with Manfred and his team. So they end up going to Siberia, Russia, where the other triangle piece would be. And they enter this other hidden temple. Oh, and by the way, there was like a when they agreed to this mutual team up is in like Venice, where like the Illuminati meeting was held at earlier in the film, and Manfred, tells her that her father was part of the Illuminati. She doesn't believe him, but it's like he has no reason to lie, even though he's a bad guy. But it turns out it is true. But in this uh, ruins with his orrery, I think that's how you pronounce it, orrery, Orrey, which is pretty much kind of like a big version, like a gigantic version of a mechanical model of the solar system. Supposed to, I guess, mimic the planetary alignment. So, while the Illuminati members trying to put these two halves together, Manfred double crosses them, kills them all outright, and then decides he's going to take the power for himself, promising Laura to bring her father to her, kind of thing. But as he puts it together, doesn't work for some reason. He believes he knows what the missing piece is, so he takes a knife, throws it at Wes, because these two had like a thing together, and he falls in the water dead, despite her attempt trying to save him. So she decides to get this little glowy piece inside the clock thing that needs to be put in between the two triangle pieces in order to make it, kind of like the glue that holds it together. Then they transport it into this neutral space time where they're on each side. Laura and Manfred run upside this pyramid, try to reach the triangle. She gets to there first, where she comes to like a world between worlds or something, or at least, I guess transport into the past to meet up with her father or something or other, and explains why he never told her about being an Illuminati and all this other stuff. He explains like, well, little girl, couldn't tell you everything, only tell you something that gave you the courage and hope that you needed to be who you are meant to be. But you got to destroy the triangle. But she wanted to use it to save him, because she missed all that time with him. But he explains to her, you can't steal time. It's not meant for human hands. It's very dangerous, because you'd be too tempted to abuse it. So she says her goodbyes, but then pretty quickly uses it, even though she was explained not to. She uses it to rewind time to prevent Wes from being murdered. But it's still like a memorable scene to me, where she actually see like the knife stuck in mid-air as everything is frozen. So she turns the knife back to sender, kind of situation. But two things. One, why is she putting her bare hand on the blade part instead of just putting both hands on the handle? I guess to try to get some kind of leverage or something. I don't know, but it's still dumb. Two, from what I understand scientifically for physics and everything like that, the momentum at the very least would have stopped the blade and caused it to just fall in place, because you're kind of robbing it of its momentum or its trajectory. But I don't know, I kind of let that part slide because, movie logic, I don't know, it still makes sense to me. I think people can lay that hat on that as like, I buy it. Sometimes in certain movies, even though there's a few things that might not be scientifically sound, everything else that kind of grounds it a bit can make the more fantastical leaps in logic, seem, relatively sound. as long as you're not too over exaggerated with it. Like, for example, if she turns around, because as time restarts, the knife goes into his chest. Now, if the way they can go way too far with it, where you can't hang your hat on, if the knife ends up in his chest and all of a sudden it explodes for some unknown reason, that's when it kind of went, okay, that's way too far with it. But then, like I said, the knife enters his chest, everybody's stunned and befuddled, like, what the hell just happened? So all, Manfred's little mercenaries decided to call it, it's like, he's gone. Like, let's get out of here. And they leave, and the place started to come down. But then Manfred taunts Lara with like the locket with that belonged to her father that had her mother's picture in it. And she tells Wes to get her friends out of there. And then decides to do like a fist fight with this dude. First off, this dude literally had like a knife in his chest. At the very least, it should have punctured a lung. He shouldn't be capable of fighting at all. He's lucky he's still relatively breathing or even conscious at this point. But he's fighting her like it just like the knife wound just made him super strong or something. Secondly, this dude has been lounging around for most of the movie. Sure, he can probably be like an expert kind of gunfight, like a gun user maybe. But in terms of hand-to-hand combat, never at once at any point in the film shown he was capable of hand-to-hand fighting at all. Not even like a little bit. To justify him being able to take on Lara Croft, who we've seen plenty of times mixed up in hand-to-hand fighting. So she should be easily, it's not like she's fighting Jet Li or anything like that. She should be easily, in terms of like hierarchy of fighting, if she's taking on somebody like on Jet Li or Jackie Chan's level of skill, yeah, I can buy she might have a little trouble dealing with something like that. But just like a dude who's probably never been in a fight in his life, she should, despite, yeah, sure, he's bigger than her relatively in terms of like, muscle, whatever, not like crazy like jacked or anything like that, but still, she is very capable of hand-to-hand fighting, where she can easily overpower somebody twice her body weight. And she's just like, even like after even a few minutes having like a tough time dealing with this, it's like, okay, she shouldn't be able to have this trouble. But she managed to overpower him and kill him, and then leaves the ruins, and it quick cuts to her finally like come to terms with her father's death. The movie ends with her butler presenting her with a platter with her iconic dual pistols, and Bryce shows up with like the test robot, and then she, freeze cut to her, about to take on this thing again. And as a matter of fact, why is this thing, I guess it wasn't fixed, but this could be very useful when you have intruders in your, like, actual mercenaries breaking into your house. Could be very useful to taking at least most of those things. Even if it was half ready, it could have been useful or whatever. But that's where the movie ends. Like I said, it's a fun movie. Like I said, like one of those fun treasure hunting movies. It doesn't need to be like super deep, but it's just something like any basic Indiana Jones kind of film. It's definitely like above Crystal Skull, and definitely the Dial of Destiny, even though that was dealing with time travel too, but not to the crazy scale. But Tomb Raider wasn't dealing with on that same crazy scale as Dial of Destiny, but I still put it on the same level as maybe like Temple of Doom or something like that. It's so fun to watch. And I definitely put it very high on terms of good video game movies based off of video games. But anyway, I will see you guys in a few minutes as I'll go right into Cradle of Life. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of Lara Croft Tomb Raider. And I'll see you guys soon. Peace.